People often claimed beauty opened doors, but for Alina, it slammed them shut in her face. When she'd first arrived in Greyridge, she tried everything to fit in, offered to help at the bakery, volunteered at community events, even baked pies for her neighbors. But every attempt was met with the same cold, suspicious glances. Women saw her as a threat, men saw her as a prize, and no one bothered to see her, the girl who had left behind a painful past, hoping for a quiet, honest life. She rented a tiny cabin on the outskirts of town, surrounded by pine trees that whispered in the wind. Her days were long, filled with whatever work she could find, mending fences, shoveling snow from porches, dragging sacks of feed for livestock owners who didn't trust her but needed the labor. She rarely spoke unless spoken to, and even then, she kept her eyes down, afraid someone might twist a polite smile into something it wasn't. One freezing morning, she found herself struggling with a broken gate hinge on the Miller Ranch. The wind bit through her worn jacket, and mud clung to her boots. Her cold, stiffened fingers refused to cooperate as she fumbled with the hammer, frustration pooling in her chest. "You're fighting with the wrong nail," came a deep, even voice behind her. She turned quickly, expecting yet another insult, another warning to stay away. Instead, she found Cole Maddox standing there, tall, solid, a man built like the land itself. His expression wasn't harsh or mocking, just observant. "If you're here to judge me, get in line," she muttered. Cole stepped closer and crouched beside her. "Not here to judge." He gently took the hammer from her hand. "Just thought you could use a hand." For the first time in Greyridge, someone didn't look at her like a problem. As winter deepened, Cole's presence became the one steady thing in Alina's fragile world. He'd stop by after long days on his ranch, sometimes carrying spare tools, sometimes dropping off leftover soup from his cook, sometimes offering nothing more than quiet company. He never looked at her with hunger or suspicion, only understanding. It was unsettling at first, then strangely comforting. But Greyridge's whispers didn't stay whispers for long. People noticed Cole's truck parked outside her cabin. They noticed the way he nodded politely to her in town. And because the town lived on gossip the way horses lived on hay, it wasn't long before the judgment grew sharp enough to cut. "She's after his land," the women muttered. "She'll ruin him," the men warned. "She should have never come here." The ugliness worsened faster than Alina anticipated. At the grocery store, people refused to stand in line behind her. At the post office, someone slid a hateful note into her coat pocket. And then, one icy evening, she returned home to find words scrawled across her door in dripping red paint: "You don't belong here." Her knees buckled. She tried to scrub the words off, but the paint smeared across the wood like a wound. Her hands turned raw and shaky. When she finally sank onto the cabin steps, the cold biting through her clothes, she felt something inside her collapse. She didn't hear Cole's truck until he was already standing beside her. "Alina," his voice was low, filled with concern that cracked something inside her. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered. "I don't want to be hated just for existing." Cole sat beside her, his presence a shield against the cold. "You're not alone," he murmured. Then, after a long silence, he said something she never expected to hear, something bold, impossible, and utterly kind. "Come live on my ranch. You'll be safe there." She stared at him, stunned. No one had ever taken her side like that. No one had ever chosen her safety over their reputation. But Cole did, without hesitation. And for the first time since arriving in Greyridge, hope didn't feel dangerous. It felt real.